Alright, this is my ANTKB Sector 31 Foundry. So this is my Foundry tutorial. It's my first time using a live stream and a recording, so we'll see how well this goes. We'll start at the very beginning. Here's where you log in to your character, and this is the introduction. So this is for those who have never been in the Foundry or went in for 3 seconds, got confused, ripped all their hair off, and thankfully I started off bald so I didn't have that concern. Alright, so how do you get into the Foundry? What you're going to do once you log in and at your character select screen, you want to go up here to the top where next to regular play you will see create content. So if you'll click that, now if you don't have a character in here because you've never done it, you'll need to do new character. I don't have any new character slots. So if you're a Fed, you want to create Fed Foundry missions, you need to create a new Fed character. If you're a KDF, you want to do KDF missions, new KDF up here. If you don't have character slots, you will need to buy character slots with Zen to do so. As you're setting up your character, I hope you've had a chance to already do that. I'll just mention a few things about your Foundry character. Probably the most important thing about your Foundry character is you don't care about your Foundry character. You're not going to be grinding, you're not going to be leveling, you're not really terribly worried about skills, especially for combat. I'll show you why once we get in there. Combat is just for testing things at this point. There's even a combat bug in space. I know you're surprised, bugs in Star Trek. Anyway, so don't really worry about going in and selecting what the character looks like in the class and all that. I, just being a good ANTKB Sector 31 personnel, put in the uniform later, but there you go. So once you have the character set, you just want to double click like you would normally, and here is your project screen. Now, if you've never been in, your on the left here is going to be empty. There's going to be nothing there. If you have no character slots, I guess I should have checked that before. Let me back out to that screen project. If you don't have any character slots, down here you're going to have to select this Buy Foundry Project Slots. If you're a silver player, you're going to have to do that. I believe it's 8,000, 10,000 lithium, something like that. Easy peasy to do, easy to grind. If you're a gold, if you're a preferred, you've subscribed, you get 8 free anyway. So if you've never been in, you don't have any slots because you're free to play, this is where you will select that. Alright, so once you've done that, you'll come in here. I'll talk more about this welcome screen and what you're going to use it for later. What you're interested in is clicking up here, New Project, and then you need to name it. I'll call this Tutorial Project. And here's your allegiance if you're setting Starfleet or Klingon, and then you hit OK, and you wait a while. I'll try to edit some of this lag time out. While I have this lag from my TeamSpeak friends, any questions, any problems yet so far? Whenever I get here, I hear Ripley in the background going loading, loading, loading. And as slow as this part seems, be grateful there was a bug that made the loading screens in the Foundry infinitely long, and we had to resort to our lovely workarounds. Workaround is one of the key words of the Foundry, and you'll see why as we go along. So here we go, it's finally loaded up our project. Starting up here, you'll notice it's not published because we haven't done anything yet. Our name, that's what we called it. We can edit, change this at any time. The ID number This is a good way to, after you publish it, which we'll have a whole separate class on publishing, once you publish it, you're having trouble finding it, you'll use that ID. Author, that's you. The language, I'm sticking English. Again, Starfleet, you could switch, oh, I meant to do the other one. Level, you'll notice this is not selectable. I'll show you how this is set later. Down below, the description. This description is when people are filtering through the missions and they see, oh, tutorial project by Frankie Jim Jim. That sounds great. I really want to play that. I wonder what it's about. This description is what will tell them what your mission's about. So they will see this before they accept the mission. Private author notes, they're not going to see that. That's for you. So if you need to keep a note to remind yourself what's going on, what's happening, future plans, etc. Over there on the right, you'll see tips received, 0, because we've not published it obviously, average rating, number of ratings, and some of the reviews. So this is a great way to come in and see what people are saying and thinking about your mission. There's another place to do this, but it's a little bit easier in here, I think. This little asterisk here is a issue, problem. All of these problems must be resolved before they are published. And I'll show you down over here is a list of those problems. I really don't worry about these right now because I don't care. Alright, so this is your project screen. Story screen. We'll come back to this in a little bit. But this is, you know how you have on the side of your screen, depending upon where you've placed it, your mission objectives? This is what sets those mission objectives. So you're going to have, here's where you set your maps, over here, you click on the console, you kill the group of Romulans, you talk to the Admiral, someone talks back to you, or you have to reach the mess hall before the dinner burns, or whatever. This is what, in this screen, you set up. And again, we'll come back to all of these. We're just introductory at this point. My goal is by the time we're done, you will have an incredibly simplistic mission, but a mission nonetheless that you will be able to extrapolate off of. Maps. This is where I spend hours and hours and hours. I mainly do custom mapping. We will have an entire class or two, or however many we need, just on custom mapping. My preference is to do custom maps, and I'll tell you why later. But create map is where we'll be going in just a bit when we come back to the maps. But the maps are defined by 3: space map, ground outdoor map, ground indoor map. Dialogue, that's all the talking. That one's pretty easy. Again, you see you create dialogue, and we'll set all this up in a second. And here's your costume. This is like the tailor in regular Star Trek Online. This is where you come to decide it's a Bolian wearing a dress, and that's a Vulcan wearing robes, and that's a Klingon in battle armor or whatever. Here's where you decide all of your characters and what they look like. Now there's a lot of different ways to create missions, and I'll have, again, more details on that. But when I do a mission, I prefer starting with the maps first. Some people start story, then to maps, dialogue, costumes down the line. Some people work costumes up. You're going to find your own technique. I've done a bunch of them. This one maybe fits better with my brain. So let's just do a quick little create map. So again, you're going to be in your maps tag. Everything else over here is going to be blank because we haven't done anything yet. Create map, and we're going to do a space one. And to make our lives easy right now, we're going to do pre-made. Now remember earlier when I said you have space, outdoor, indoor? This drop down here is where you select which one you're doing. We'll be doing one of each in a moment. So now we've clicked our pre-made. Faction, you can divide it down. I'm looking for an Iconian map, or a Romulan map, or a Breen map, or whatever. Or you can specifically search for, I'm looking for Vulcan. Let's just scroll and find something interesting here. Oh, let's do What's this one? Nah, we're not going to do that one. Alright, so this is the, once you've clicked on Neptune, I went to Neptune just because I felt like it. Over here on the right, you will see an overview map of what it looks like. You're scrolled in up here. You can drag and slide this. I prefer using my mouse wheel to roll back to zoom out. Kind of gives you an idea. You'll see an asteroid belt or whatever. Down below you'll see more details. Neptune system, the Sol system containing Neptune. So let's use that. Oh, we didn't specify a map name. Ah, okay. So you'll come up here to the map name and you'll write whatever you want. Don't worry about if you don't like the name later, you can go back and change it. Now you've noticed our screen has changed dramatically. We've got a mini map here, we've got all this junk over here to the side that we'll talk about, and a little detail window down below. Again, our scroll bar. Let me explain these buttons up here. View mission waypoints. When we finally have an objective, go scan the satellite, and we put that in our story, when we come back to our map, you'll see this big glowing circle around the satellite. To be honest, that annoys me. I turn it off. Again, personal preference. Snap to grid. There is an invisible grid behind here, and this lets you snap to it. I can't stand it simply because the grid does not work on the mathematical principles that I want. It never lines up to 0.0. It's like 0.179 or some weird thing like that. I like math. I get rid of it. That way I can put anything anywhere I want to, down to thousandth of a meter, which I do. Go that specific. Enable rotation snap to angle. I actually leave that one on most of the time. Most of when I'm building things, the snap to angle gives you 0, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, keep going 15 all the way around the circle. I leave it on most of the time when I'm building something. It's going to fall in that angle. If I need something a little wackier, like I'm doing one mission where I have a dead guy lying on the ground, I don't want him lying at a specific angle, so I turned it off, set him to like 27.5 so it's odd, doesn't fit anything in the room, turned it back on for everything else. That's what you feel like there. Play map, that lets you play the map once you've done it. We'll do that in a second. So let's scroll out a little bit, and I'm going to use my middle mouse button to grab. So I'm using my scroll wheel to roll, and then I'm pressing down on the scroll wheel to move. Alright, so let's work on this side panel. You'll see a bunch of tabs. You can grab here and drag, open, close. All of these let you do that. You can also, if you notice, there's a little arrow right here. I don't know if on the live stream you can see it, but right to the right of story, little side arrow. You can click that guy and it opens the whole thing up. You can bring it back. Again, you can get rid of this one and bring it back. Sometimes if I'm building a large map, I'll get rid of this. Sometimes I leave it up. If you're doing dialogue, I tend to get rid of this and then bring it back later. Again, that's a personal preference thing. Alright, the special tab. These control your spawn point. That's this critter. That's where your ship is going to start. So I want my ship to start down here. Okay, so what I did is I left click, grab, and drag. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. Control Z for your undo works in here as well. Control Y for redo works in here as well. So use those lovingly. Respawn point, we'll talk more about that once we have an actual map that we're working on, probably another time. Place marker, we'll get here in a second, and pop-up dialog as well. But what is a respawn point? Generally, you want to use a respawn if, let's say you've created this large space station and they beam down on the left side of the station and they're fighting through, and they've gone 10 minutes just across your station, and now you've got a big battle. It's really nice. You're going to make your players feel happy and like you if you put a respawn point before that big battle. That way, if they die, they don't have to run through 10 minutes of empty hallway. They come back at your respawn point. Again, you just drag it and put it out there. I'll show you that again. Left click, drag, and just put it on the map where you want to go. And then again, you can left click and drag it to move it around. You notice also if I mouse over it, you have these little arcs on the side. That allows me to, which way will they be facing when they respawn. That's over here as well. Every object will have that. Let's look down at our detail pane. Down here, you'll see its name. It's a spawn point number 3. That matches over here, spawn point number 3 on the left. The name, that's if you want to name it. So spawn point, this is where they start. I don't do that for spawn points, but for other things I will. Default position. This is where that item is. You notice as I move it up here, the X, Y, and Z points are changing. So if you want to be more specific, I want them to start at exactly 95. There you go. I want them to start at exactly minus 86. There you go. Y is vertical, up, down. So sometimes when you're building a space map particularly, you want to be careful with the Y. You can really crank it up there, but you know how hard it is to go up and down, change your altitude in space. So you want to keep things relatively easy for your player to get to. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Rotational degree, again, you can set it down here, or click the wrong thing, or over there. Either or. Alright, let's look at our place marker. So again, you just left click and drag it. It's an arrow pointing down to a target. That's, you know how in the missions where it says get to the backside of the planet and there's a big circle and you fly into the circle and you got to the place. That's how you set that, and this is true for space and ground, all of these. Again, you can name it down here. Sometimes for place markers I do that, so a lot of times I'll use an abbreviation PM or location, just so on the side I can see a little bit easier, and then call it moon or whatever. Again, your position, your Y, your Z. Something very important to know with your location, your place marker, this radius, that's how close does the player have to be to those exact coordinates, left, right, forward, back, up, down, to that exact XYZ coordinate in order to trigger. Well, if they have to be 0 kilometers, I'm zooming in on it, all the way in, 0 kilometers, they have to be literally at that dead point. They never will. So you want to open that up. There's a 4 kilometers. See now this circle here? I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. 6 kilometers. And that's left, right, forward, back, up, down. So if they're now 6 kilometers from that point, they'll hit it. And that's where you're going to be testing later on. And then pop-up dialog. We'll talk about that more when we do more dialogues. Let's go to the planet tab. Well, we've got a big planet that they've put in. We can't change it. Looks like a little moon here, another one there, a little bigger one down here. But let's say you wanted to add something else. Well, here are all your planets. It has it listed by classes. Planet class D01. Down here you can see a picture. You mouse over, it'll get bigger. And you can scroll down here and it'll give you the dimensions 44 by 44 by 44. Most of the time this is a suggestion. It is probably the bounding box, the square that surrounds the object, not the object itself. And there's times when that's going to really annoy you. And so you can click through, here are the different Class D planets. But let's say we want, let's scroll way down. Let's do a fragment. So we're going to just put a big chunk of fragment out here. Why is there a fragment out there? I don't know. That's where the story and the dialogue comes in. So I got a big chunk of fragment out here. And again, you notice we have X, Y, Z, a rotation. Up above it, you'll see its name, what it is, and a ring. Now let's say you've said and you go, oh, I didn't want the L02, I wanted L01. Okay, I'll show you where I clicked. You just click planet, fragment, L01. I just heard lightning, thunder, so if I suddenly depart, that's what happened. Scroll down, that's the one we wanted, and it changed. So that's a way to change it instead of going off, deleting it, and putting out the other one. The ways to delete, though, if you need to, you got a little delete button, throw it in the trash, or you can drag it up to the trash can, and it's gone. This is a duplicate, so you've got it set in place, and you want another one. Duplicate it. Now you see one next to each other. We'll move it away a little bit, and we'll rotate it so it doesn't look quite as identical. And we'll even overlink them a little bit. And we'll change the Y value to 0.5. Now, if this little enable snap to grid, remember that we got rid of? If that was on, we couldn't do this. It would be snapping it in place. We wouldn't have this fine-tuned control. And so that's all these little things. You've got Ryza, Vulcan, Destroyed, and Doria. A lot of this is getting here in play. Again, you can sort by the class, by the size, or again, a direct search. Details. Details, details, details. All right, there are a score of things in here to play with. Nebulas, platforms, satellites, ships, destroyed ships, stations, effects, nebulas, I may have said that one again, debris, asteroids, all sorts of fun little critters. You can again sort by type, by name, faction, size, color, or again just a direct search. So I want some debris. I want some debris spelled correctly. Alright, and let's see, this, what do we want? See, some of these, when you look at them, it's really hard to tell what they are. Oh, let's do this. Let's do a Federation nacelle. We're going to throw a Federation nacelle out here. And let's do... oh, let's do a big giant piece of hull. There we go. Alright, so now we got some pieces out there to play with. We'll get rid of our sort. And again, here are some of the things that you can play with. The NPCs. NPC, for those who don't know, non-player controlled contact. So these are contacts, that ain't you. And NPC groups. These are groups, that ain't you. You shouldn't be a group unless you have multiple personalities or something. Then you can do that if you want. What is an NPC contact? These are people who you can talk to. You will notice different types down here: Ferengi, the Valkyrie, generics, Gorn, Klingon, etc. Now, I'm Federation. I throw out a Klingon Raider Hodge and stick them right smack in front of me. Well, again, you can see a little picture of them down here. One over here as well. You can name them so it doesn't say Klingon Raider 5 Hodge. You can change the name to whatever you want. Again, you see all of these features. Default prompt we'll leave alone for now. But he's an NPC contact. Even though he's a Klingon, I'm a Federation. He's not going to fight me. He is a contact, not a mob, not a combatant. So you go, oh, I don't want that. I don't want to talk to Klingons. They look funny. So you drag it and get rid of him. I want to fight some Klingons. They would be in the NPC groups. So you'll click over here. And let's find our Klingons. You can scroll, or you can select friendly, enemy, neutral, species. We'll just go to Klingon. There you go. Now this is where some of the limitations of the Foundry, some of the mini, come in. If you notice, we'll click on Klingon Squadron Weak. Down below, it gives you a description. A Klingon squadron that is weak, but a descriptive name. Hence, use this sparingly as it makes for dull experience when overused. Weak spawns are good for leading players to more interesting content. Now you notice it says down here, goes from 2 frigates up to 4 frigates and 2 battleships. What makes the change? In space, your enemies will be influenced, both the size and number of the ships, by the rank and number of players in the map. So at level 10, goes in and plays it, they're going to get little bitty Klingon ships, maybe 1 or 2. A group of 5 level 50s go in and play it, they're going to get a lot of ships. They're still going to be weak compared to them, but there you go. So you got weak, frigate, freighters, cruisers, and battleship. You cannot say, oh, I want this type of ship to be there. You don't have any control. What you do is you'll say, we'll just throw this Klingon frigate out here, so you can see what it looks like. Looks like a big green dot with a circle. The circle is where they're looking. We're going to zoom in. Looks like a weird smiley face. This is if all of them come in, this is where they're going to end up. And this is the pattern they're going to end up. And this is the direction they're going to be facing. I rarely leave ships looking like that. It looks kind of weird, like they're huddling for a football team. I'll separate them, drag them out a little bit, so they're not all quite clustered up. I like to get them away from this point as well. That center gray one. So if you notice, I can click on it. Here we go. Lets me move them all. Turn them all. Click on one red one. It lets me move the one. Turn the one. They don't all have to be facing the same direction. Now once my ship gets into this range, they're going to notice me. They're red. Bad guys don't like me, and they'll try to fight. What if we come to Federation? I am a Federation player. If I put these guys out here, they're not going to fight me. They're going to fight the Klingons. Sometimes it's a nice little trick. Especially have a nice big battle, put people on both sides. But we'll get rid of them. I'm good. I don't need them. Romulans. You'll notice Romulan Republic. Those are your allies. Romulan Squadron. Those are the dirty little Tal Shiar you have to beat up. Okay? The higher you go, I'll slide this out a little bit. Weak frigate fighter, the more difficult they become. Generally, unless you want to give your players headaches upon headaches, you don't just want to spam hundreds of battleships all showing up at once. It tends to make for unhappy players. Big battle scenes, lots of deaths, frequently theirs. Unplaced, it's empty because I don't have any unplaced. We'll look at that a bit later. So there's our basic map, and we have a story kind of building around it so far. Let's move some things around. I'm going to put our respawn point up here now. So what we have is we're going to be flying in. It's a little far. Fight the Klingons. We'll come up, hit a respawn point, hit this location marker, we'll see the debris. Sad, people died, and then we'll scan these doodads over here. Now, I can hit play map, and we can kind of go in and see everything, but none of them are going to be part of the objective. In fact, let me go ahead and show you that. Again, unfortunately, this takes time to load, but this is where they did speed things up greatly a little while ago. Speaking of loading, you will get reviewers, and we'll talk more about reviewers but in another class, but you'll get reviewers who will yell at you for how long your load time is. Please understand that as Foundry authors, you have no control over the drops, over the reviews, nothing. You can't set their load times or anything like that. So here's my little ship flying around. And remember when I said you really don't care about the combat? Here's some fun buttons over here. Return to editor. Lets us go back and fix something that we did a boo-boo on. Reset map. Oh, stink. I didn't see something. You hit that, it backs you up to the beginning. Here's the fun one. Yeah, normal. You can't see it. Let me move this. Untargetable means the enemies can't hit me, and then God mode, they can't kill me. Let's get up there a little bit. But what's this kill target button? It's kill target. And in the Foundry, you can still pick up drops. They're going to be pretty useless, but you can pick them up. Now the reason I went ahead and did the kill, remember I said there is a bug in the space combat. If you get two ships too close to each other, and that includes yours and theirs, or two whatevers, there's what's called the 000 bug. Sometimes the enemy ships will warp to 000 in space, and since the objective is to kill them, you have to fly all the way to 000 in the space map, try to find them, kill them, then come back and do your objective. Look, new spawn point. We hit it. But how come we don't have any arrows pointing us to what we're doing? How come we don't have mission objectives? That's because we didn't set anything up in the story. You'll see here that those are the two little rock things that we set. So let's go back to the editor. And we're going to go into our story. So up here to the story tab, you will notice over here to the right there is a new little option, Neptune Space Map. That's the one we did. This tells you what to do. Create your story by dragging a map from the library on the right and dropping it here. So I'm going to grab Neptune Space Map and plunk it down over here. Ignore these, we're not going to worry about them right now. We're just going to scroll down. Project Map, Neptune. Mission Test, text, find the USS Tutorial. No wonder they died. Had a horrible ship name. Now, that's our map. Look at the next thing. Drop objectives here to place them on map. Well, remember the first thing we wanted to do is kill the bad guys? Drag them over here. Mission text. This is what's going to be in your mission objectives. Kill Klingon Raiders. Waypoint, leave to automatic. Encounter. This is asking you, who you killing? Alright, click to set a component. It brings me to the map. I can select them from here, since I only have one enemy. Or when I zoom out, you'll see the little icon for kill the enemies. Click OK. And there we go. We now have our first objective to go kill the raiders. Now, we're going to say, head to the debris field. We're going to keep waypoint automatic. Very rarely will you turn that off. Occasionally you will. Again, you can select from up here. We did that last time, so I'll show you over here. I'm going to drag it around, scroll out so it's easier to find, and that's where we want. You'll see the matching icons. Match what I wanted. Reach text. Now, the reach text is what's going to be the yellow print on the screen when I get there. So let's put debris field. So inventive. Interact with object. Let's scan the debris. Click to set component. You're going to be doing that a lot. What we're looking for, again, these matching icons. Let's do the nacelle. Click OK. But we want them to do both. The debris, the nacelle, and the hull. So click Add Component. We'll set that component. Now to complete this objective, they have to scan both of them. Interact text, well, you don't want that's the little blue button that pops up. That's the words on that button. We don't want to interact. We're going to say scan the debris, choose animation. Oh, a bunch of stuff. This is where you can get in here and play, but right down here, scan. It's going to make that little blue come out in front. And the duration, how long do you know when you interact with something, that little bar that delays before it actually happens? This sets how long. It takes a long time to do the bar, medium time, short time, or instantaneously. I generally leave things on medium. If it's a, fix the broken console, well, you may want to do long, because that takes a while. Or poke the tribble. That's going to be instantaneous. That doesn't take a while. So you can use that to help out. Alright, so there we have our basic mission. We're going to come back to maps. Again, earlier I talked about this little yellowy circle thingy up here, using the big high-tech words, of course. I'm going to turn it back on so you can see what I'm talking about. See the circle around the debris field? The circle around the waypoint, the location. And there's even a run around the Klingons. Again, I personally don't like it, but do whatever you want. Alright, let's go back and play the map again. Now look over here. Find the USS tutorial. Kill Klingon raiders. That's what was in our story. So now we're gonna fly up there, and you can shoot him if you want, but I'm always concerned about the 000 bug, so we're just gonna kill target, tab, kill target, tab. Notice I am getting my skill points still, which is kind of funny. Notice it completed the objective and is telling us to head toward the debris field. On the map, you have the arrow pointing to it. That's our respawn point. I don't always do the respawn points, normally only if I have a big battle and I don't want them people to go back to the beginning. Debris field, see how that popped up? Now we're turning it over here. There's the two things we have to scan. 0 of 2. We'll do the hull first. Scan the debris. You saw the effect come out and scan the debris. This is that timeline that I was telling you about. That was medium. Hey, resolved mission tutorial, we finished it. We only had 3 things to do. We can go back and do it again. I want to make sure it all looks fine, or return to our editor and work on something else. So let's say we finally, we scanned them and we looked over here and hey, they beamed down to one of these little weird fragment thingies. So we're going to go down and try to find them. Let's create a new map. Indoor. Indoor will always pop over to pre-made. And let's look for something kind of indoor-y. Let's do cave V1 interior 02. Nice big cave. We'll hit create. Oh, we got to do a name. So we'll call it fragment caves. And there we go. You notice over here we have 2 maps. We have 2 tabs over here. Little arrow to open and close them. Every time we create a new map, a new spawn point is created. Every item is numbered. 3, 5, here's 9, 10. And the numbers are consistent. So if I put, we have 20 here. If I put an item back on the Neptune map, it'll be 21, 22. And those numbers are going to be important for custom mapping what's seen and what's not seen. So here we have, here's our beam down point. We're going to turn this around. There we go. Well, we need a survivor. We need somebody to find. Well, who do we want? Well, here on the ground we have again our special spawn, respawn, place marker, and pop-up dialog. Details. Different ones, plants, trees, rocks, banners, barrels, bones, whole bunch of junk. I'll let you play with it on your own. You can sort some of these, oddly enough, when you sort them. Of course I can't find it right now. Don't have anything in them. Why do they have a category with nothing in it? It's Star Trek Online. NPC contact, again, these are people you talk to. NPC group, these are people you kill. Now, I'm going to do it a little backwards this time. Again, you saw I like building from the map and then go to story. This time I'm going to build from story and go to the map. Before we do that, let's look at our NPC contacts. These are the people who you can talk to. You'll see Klingons, Gorn, Borg, or whatever. So you can come in here and say, who do you want to rescue? Well, I want to rescue a Gorn handler. No. Hamlet cast member. No. So you go through and you're like, I can't find anybody I really like. By the way, Starfleet is way down here. Boy, the person looks kind of strange. I don't like any of them. I wish I could just do my own. That's where our costume button comes in handy. So let's go down to costumes. Create a costume. What's the name? Let's do Captain ANTKB. Very powerful name, I'm sure. Alright, and this is where you set Starfleet, Klingon, Romulan. It doesn't really matter here in the sense of, again, this person's not going to be fighting you, but it gives you different species options. Here are your species for Starfleet, Klingon, and Romulan. They all have alien in them. Let's do a Starfleet human, male, standard. We'll crank the height up a little bit here. And this is where you'll just go through and set, how your person looks. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this because you really don't care about my ability to make odd looking people. We'll just give them a little uniform. There are some odd things still in the Foundry for uniforms. You will have access to certain uniform choices in the Foundry that you may not have access to in the regular tailor. And there's some things you're going to have in the tailor that you don't have in here. In the recent, as of end of May 2014, they have some armor pieces for the women, female characters, none for the male characters yet. They're still working on some of that. Upper, let's see if we can make a pretty decent looking uniform. Looks oddly familiar for some reason. Not quite sure why, but there you go. Here's our simple Presto Changeo guy. We can change leg lengths, make him have skinny legs, little feet. We can make his arms shorter and thicker and give him a little tummy because he's been sitting on the captain's chair too long. We can come down here and make his nose, nostrils, and his height and change all these little things. Get tired of playing with it, you can randomize the head. They get some pretty weird looks. We'll go with that guy. He looks pretty gruff. Yeah. Alright, so here's our Captain ANTKB. Sounds like the relative of Captain Planet. So we'll come back to our story. We're going to drag our fragment map over. We'll leave this alone for now. And we'll do the same thing. Mission text. Find Captain or Captain ANTKB. And let's see, what do we want to do first? Let's do an interact called Scan the Caves. We'll change that to Scan the Caves. We're not going to set a component. We can't because we didn't set any pieces on the map, but we can still set everything else. Just choose animation. Again, we'll isolate to just scanning. And let's do tricorder scan. You notice there's two of them. One has a Federation tricorder, one has a KDF. I never remember which one, so pick one. Watch the guy's tricorder when he flips it out, make sure it's the right one, and there you go. And then we're going to kill some people. We're going to clear the first room. We're going to save the captain. Again, we can't set the component because we didn't set anybody. And then we're going to put that back. We didn't want that. And then we're going to dialogue with contact. Talk with Captain ANTKB. This one we can set. Can't do a component as of yet. Alright. So here we have it, but we don't have it interacting with anything on the map. So let's go to our map. You will notice there's this little triangle thingy over here by the unplaced. We're going to click on that. Here's all of those things that we told it to do. We'll start with this. Alien artifact medium 01 used in Scan the Cave. So we're going to drop this guy right under my spawn point, scroll in. Now I don't want it to look like this weird alien artifact. In fact, I don't want the player to see it at all. Well, so we'll just turn this into, click on object, an invisible object. We'll pick the little one. There's actually a better way to do this. I'll show you that later. Another class. Lots of hooks here. I'm going to put it behind the player so the player doesn't accidentally run into it. Or you could stick it in front. Doesn't matter. We'll test that later. But so when they beam down, they'll get that little pop-up button to scan the room, or scan the caves. First guys we're going to kill in this room. And again, I don't like just having them sitting stock, you know. What are the Klingons doing in the room? Ah, they're just standing by waiting for someone to come kill them. We'll have them, you know, these two guys are, you know, we'll have them facing each other, and this guy is over here mad and feeling lonely. And this guy is actually on duty guarding, you know, keeping an eye out. And I'm not going to set animations for them, but we'll kind of lay them out so they're not just stock standing in place. The next group, we'll put them up here. We're going to turn them because they're hunting for our very powerful Captain Man, who looks a little weird. And we'll put our very powerful Captain Man hiding somewhere down there. Name, this is the name that they'll see when they click on him. Costume. Okay, so now it just looks like some random weird looking thing. We're going to click to select the costume. Just like before we selected the invisible object, you can select any of these guys. Costumes that you've made will be on the top with my project underneath them, after the name. Click OK. Now this looks like Captain ANTKB. I do like changing from contact to legacy. I'm going to go into advanced behavior. Scroll down a little bit. I know I'm doing this a little bit quick because we'll do more later. But we're going to make him... What should we make him do? Crouch down in a ball. Maybe. Do we have a scared one? No. Maybe alert? Nah. Let's do the crouch down in a ball. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, so now we have our map. This time we built it backwards. Well, backwards from the way I do it. So we did story. We set all of our stuff up here. We went to our map and laid it all out. The only thing we still need to do is come into our story, and we're going to set here, click to set animation. He's scared. That changes how his face looks on the screen. Title. You don't always have to do this. I've been trying to do this more and more recently. Text. We're just going to say, had to double click on it from here. My A key is weird. That's why it doubles sometimes. Thanks for saving me. Alright, there we go. So let's now come back to our fragment caves and let's play that map. Again, I know some of this I'm doing rather quickly, almost probably too quickly to follow along and do the exact same thing. It's one of the hopes of the recording it, so you can pause it and find it and set it up. Also, again, this is just more showing what's available and the basic practice of how to lay things down and set them out. Alright, so here we are in our cave. Here's our scan the cave button. So let's see. Of course it's not clicking. Let's reset the map. We'll go back in, not sure why it's not working. Let's try it again. I don't use these invisible objects for this on the ground, so that may be part of the issue. If this doesn't work, I'll do it the way I normally do it. I do use the invisible objects for space, though. They're very nice to point the person. You'll see the box, go over here to scan this, go over here to scan that. Yeah, see, it was just falling to the floor. That's okay, don't worry about it. Scan the caves. There we go. There's the Federation tricorder. Now, at that point, we could have had a pop-up dialogue saying, hey, the guy's down there, we have to go save him, yippee skippy. We'll throw that in when we're after that. So now I'm going to run down. Probably getting a little lag because of the streaming. There's our bad guys. See how they're facing? Warriors. Very brave. Very strong. Notice for some reason I only have 3. She's back somewhere at the beginning. Your bridge officers will get stuck frequently in the testing. Don't be terribly concerned if they get stuck in here. Again, you're not very worried about your combat ability because you still have the kill the target button, and the pathing, them finding their way around, is a whole lot better once it's published than it is in the testing phase. So we're going to come in here, and since I'm all by my little lonesome, they're all stuck back there. We're just going to kill them using my lovely kill tag. Kill button, win button, there you go. We've completed that objective. We're going to talk to him. Here he is, all frightened, hiding back here. Little ball. Talk to Captain ANTKB. Thanks for saving me, man. I don't like having continue, but we'll play with that for dialogues. And there we go. We finished the ground. Now you can go back to your editor if you want, go to story, play the whole thing. There's still some problems that would prevent us from publishing, such as we didn't set this. This up here is when the person says accept the mission and the window pops up, that's this. A lot of times I'll do a bridge officer, maybe your science officer from your ship says, sir, we're receiving a communication from Starfleet that we need to investigate possible Klingon activity near Neptune. Yippee skippy wonderful. Assets view, again, these are the NPCs that they gave us in the NPC contact tab. You will notice any costumes you made are not available at this point. I don't know exactly why, but you can't use your own costumes. So we didn't set that. We didn't put a text there actually saying what to do. Leave from. Okay, where do we go? How do you enter your map? Alright, this is a lot of mess. But since it's Sol system, I would say we would probably just want to do Cirrus. And you can try to find it. You will notice, unfortunately, Sol is not on there for some strange, odd reason. Or you could say, let's do it from Starfleet Academy. Any one of these things. I don't know why you would have a tree as your starting point to your mission. That's always fun. Let's do Earth Space Dock. And we're going to leave from, we'll just say, let's see, let's do that again, because I didn't set anything. And this is why I don't use this either. We'll just say the ops door, click OK, and then you would set your science officers who's talking to you or whatever. Now you can use your project guys. And this is the person sir, we've laid in coordinates ready to go to whatever, and then you would set, instead of saying go to next map, go to lay in course to Neptune or whatever. Okay, so if we were to fix those things, we'd want to do the same thing down to this one, from Neptune to the caves. And a few little tidbits that would clear out all of these, and you could publish it. I will go ahead and save it. That is our class, and at this point I will ask if there are any questions from my ANTKB TeamSpeak listeners. Again, there is unfortunately a lag from when I ask to when they hear, and from I will answer, but there's going to be a lag in that questioning. But just from the room, anything that's too fast that I didn't hit, that you need me to touch on again before we end the class. Just filling in some stuff. I'm waiting for the lag to catch up. Everything you do. I'm going to use my push to talk to see if I catch some of the lag. Any questions from TeamSpeak? Oh, they were saying they were asking me questions in the chat of Twitch and I wasn't looking. Okay. Alright, I will... wow.
I'm at the start. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close the class. Thank you all for listening and participating. I will have the next week class about the same time, 4 o'clock Eastern, on our TeamSpeak. And again, I will be doing a live recording of it and live streaming of it as well. Look forward to seeing all the great creations coming out from ANTKB in the near future. Thank you very much.